Hello everybody. Just getting set up here. Today we're going to do a colorful baby owl or a colorful owlet. So I've went ahead and painted my canvas black. I'm using a 12 by 16 stretched canvas. And as you can see, I did a little kind of white sketch. So it's a profile view, so you're only seeing one eye. What I'll do, I'll go ahead and put a picture of the sketch up on the feed. So if you guys need to practice first to get your outline done, but basically this is all we're going to sketch in before we start. It's going to be kind of a pastel color owl. So the colors I'm using today, of course, are titanium white. Then I've got my dioxine purple, my aqua green, my, what one is this? This is a phthalo green, kind of a turquoisey green. Then I've got a primary yellow, that one's called, and our magenta, and also black. I don't have it added to my plate. We may need a little bit, but mostly you need the black just to kind of do your background first. And the brushes I'm going to use, I would say what I'm going to use most today is going to be my 1/2 inch flat brush, my little, or sorry, that's a 3/4, number 20. So it's like a 3/4 inch. Then I have this 1/2 inch angle brush. And you'll want a couple little small brushes. I've got a little kind of pointy number 4 round. And I've got this little 1/4 inch angle brush. So that's about it for brushes. Just a couple flats in different sizes, and you'll want a couple little small ones. And as for your colors, this is going to be kind of a mishmash of a bunch of colors. So you don't have to have exactly the same as I have. You could do yours in blues and pinks. Mine is going to be mostly my teal greens and pinks with a little bit of purple and yellow. So there's going to be a lot of different kind of colors blending together. This may be a little above beginner level, but I totally encourage you to give it a try. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my darker green. I'm just going to add a little hint of white, and I'm using my small 1/4 inch angle brush. And I'm just going to give the eye a little start. And if your paint is thick like mine, you're going to want to dip your brush in your water a little bit and get it a little wet. Thinner paint goes on a lot easier than thicker paint. So all these kind of white lines I sketched in, I just did it with a little bit of white paint, really thin down. But if you wanted to do it with a pencil or chalk or something like that, would probably do you better than sketching with a paintbrush, but totally up to you. I usually do my sketches with a paintbrush. I'm going to take just a little bit of the dark. So this doesn't have any white. And I'm just going to go darker on the back kind of side of the eye. So I'm a little lighter out here, and I'm a little darker back here. Everything on the left side of our painting is going to be a little brighter then it will, then that's where our light is going to come from, guys. So everything on the right side is going to be darker, and everything on the left, sorry, everything on the right is going to be darker, everything on the left is going to be a little lighter. So I'm going to move to my 3/4 inch brush. I'm going to start just getting some of these kind of base layers of our feathers in. So this is kind of where, you know, there's not a perfect formula to kind of how I do this. I'd start with darker and then I layer on lighter, but I also want to make it colorful too. So let's start with some of our purple, and I've wet my brush and I'm going to get some of this purple going here. So a little bit of water on my brush, dip in your water. I'm going to take just a little bit of white and then make a little puddle of paint that's a little kind of thinner. I'm not brightening this paint too much, but I want it lightened a little bit because I want it to show up against my black background. So I know he's gonna have a fluffy head. And when I'm doing this, I want my black to show through. So I'm not going to cover everything in. I want that black to come through, and that's why I did the black background first. I like having those dark shadows come through. And I'm gonna go right over my sketch. I'm gonna give the eye a little kind of outline. Just using like the edge of my brush here. So this is all just kind of base layers. A lot of this is going to get covered again. So a little more purple. And I'm going to start just using the width of my brush. So see these kind of little square marks I'm making? Around like that, and a little more purple on my brush, a little dip in my water, and I'm going to come down under where the beak is, and I'm going to start brushing on some of these feathers on his body. And usually they have like a nice round feather pattern around their eyes. So I'm gonna just kind of stay away from that because I'm gonna go in there with a different color after. And I'm just gonna pick out more of my purple and I'm not doing this and making square. I'm kind of using the edge of my brush. So see how if you use the edge of your brush, it makes a nice little kind of feather shape. So a little more white, a little more purple, a little more water. We don't want this paint real thick. And we're just gradually brushing on and giving him a nice round belly. I'm going to stay above, staying away from that round feather pattern we're going to put in the eye. And I'm also not going to bring my color right to my edge because I want this kind of dark shadow to stay. We're going to do most of our light hitting the left side of our painting. So I still have paint on my brush, and I'm gonna get near it, but I'm using a really light touch, and I'm not gonna put a lot of paint on there. So you can still kind of see the hint of that feather pattern, but not crazy bright. So that's our purple. Let me give my brush a little rinse here. I'm gonna move to my 1/2 inch angle brush. This is a Royal and Langnickel angle brush. I really, really like this brand. I usually buy these at Michael's, or if you're in my local area, State of the Arts in Corner Brook carries them too. So let's start to pull in some more color. Some of our magenta, again, a little bit of white added. And I'm adding white, guys, to this because if we just did the solid magenta, solid purple, solid turquoise on our black canvas, it's going to be really, really dark when it dries, and it's not going to show up and have that bright effect. So I'm not going too light to start, but just a little hint of white at this point will help our paint kind of show up and be bright against our canvas. And then as we progress to our final layers, we'll add even more white. So I know I want to give him, or her I guess, kind of a little feathery, fluffy pattern on his beak. And we have to kind of decide what we're going to do for our feather pattern around the eye too. So I think what I'll do, I'm using again the edge of my brush, not using the width, but kind of hitting it with the edge. And I'm just gonna give a little kind of feather pattern around the eye. And guys, obviously this is not a true to life owl, so you can do what you like. Do what looks nice, what you kind of try a few different brush strokes. And I'm going to start incorporating a little bit of that pinky magenta down into our purple too. Like I said, this is kind of a pastel, little baby owl, little fluffy pastel baby owl. Now, so more pink on my brush, but I'm going to do a little more white this time and just kind of give him a little accent out around his eye. Same brush, same 1/2 inch angle brush, little dabs, just like that. And I'm going to take a little purple. I haven't rinsed my brush, so I'm letting some of that pink and purple just kind of blend together. giving a little rinse. What I'm going to do now, I want to decide on a beak color. So I think, what should I do for the beak? Let's do a little aqua and a little of that teal together. And I'm just going to paint in that beak. Same brush again, guys. I haven't switched brushes yet. I'm going to take a little of the darker and just kind of make the beak a little darker as it comes out close to the feathers. And we'll cover over that edge now in a minute. When we do some more feathers, we'll bring it out over the beak. So notice how I'm having the beak a little darker in there, covering over my sketch lines. I'm just going to touch a little white and just kind of go over that and highlight the edge of the beak there, a little more white. This is where the angle brush really comes in handy. And we'll leave that for now, and we'll go back and give it another highlight a bit later. But I want to start bringing some of my teals and my purples into the feathers. So I'm going to give my brush a little rinse, and I'm going to take a little teal on the one kind of edge of my brush, and I'm just going to start with a little bit, and then I'll keep adding until it kind of looks how I want it to look. Got a little bit of water on my brush too. You don't want it too wet. Maybe a little too wet. So just using the edge of my angle brush just to help me put a little teal, kind of highlight. Teal and pink looks nice together. For our pastel baby owl. That, and I'm going to go ahead now and start touching a little yellow. I still got that teal on my brush. A little bit of yellow and white. And let's start adding in, and you know, some of our color underneath is still wet, so it kind of blends in with the pink that's there, and you may get a little kind of an orangey look coming through, and that's great. I'm gonna go with that. I'm going to switch to back to my bigger brush. I'm going to go back to this bigger one and do some of this yellow because I want my brush marks to be a little more, I don't want them to be quite so delicate. I want them, there we go. I want it to kind of stand out a little bit. So I'm getting some of that yellow on my brush, but I'm going to touch some of that pink on the other side. So see how, this is called double loading your brush. So I've got pink on one side and yellow on another. So see how that kind of looks so neat together. So double loading your brush gives you that real nice effect. So see how it's a little bit of pink on one side and a little bit of yellow comes out on the other side. So that's what I'm gonna do. A little bit of white too with it. A touch in your water. So I'm creating this kind of a blended brush stroke effect there. So guys, that's kind of a neat thing to practice too. So see how that double loading the brush, see how that gives it that real nice, almost like a sunset look to the brush stroke. So I'm going to keep reloading that. Touch of white on my yellow corner. And that gives us this kind of highlighted look on the left side of our owl, which is what we're going for. And you can do this with any color. You could do it, double load your brush with anything. Keep dark on one side, lighter on another. And it really gives you a dramatic effect. So, you know, it's something that takes a little bit of practice. So guys, if you don't get it right away, take an old kind of canvas and just practice double loading and see what kind of effects you can get. I'm going to take just a little magenta and white now. A little magenta and white, still in my bigger brush. I'm just going to go over some of that brushwork we already did. So remember how a little while ago I said I did a lot of dark here, but then we'd layer some lighter. So it's the same colors. We're just taking a little more white and just touching in. This really helps give us that kind of dramatic effect to our feathers, our whimsical, colorful feathers. And you can do as many layers as you want when you're doing something like this. I mean, who's going to tell you that it's not right? So, as many layers as you want. Now, I've got a little kind of thing that I do, and it makes it look kind of a little feathery maybe. So what I'm going to do, I want to incorporate some of our teal and aqua in now, but I want to give a little kind of speckled feather look. So I'm back to my my half-inch brush. It doesn't have to be an angle brush, guys. You may even do a better job if you just had a straight one, just a squared off brush. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start making some little kind of feathered patterns. But what I do, I kind of do a little tap, 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 all in the same direction. So it gives that little kind of feathered pattern. So I'm dipping my brush in my water, taking a little green, our dark green and our teal together. You want it light enough that it shows up against what we've already done. But not too light that it's like crazy light. Just like that. And as I move towards the right side of my canvas, I'm going to keep adding a little more of the dark green so it gets a little darker. I always start from like what would be the bottom of the feather and kind of work my way up. And this brush stroke will probably take a little practice too. So like when you're doing this painting, it wouldn't be a bad idea to have your painting and have another little small canvas to the side, or a pad of paper or whatever, just something that you can kind of practice your brush strokes on and then go to your painting. That's a really good idea, just to have a paper or, you know, something kind of close by that you can just kind of practice. So now I'm just touching a little bit of aqua and just gonna kind of go in, and I'm just adding a few little dabs wherever I think that it kind of looks nice. Same brush again, guys. So I think I need something around here in green too. So same brush, just kind of wet it a little bit. And it's a little dark, and I'm gonna, this time I'll double load with dark and light green. So I have my dark green on my brush, and then I'll just touch my light green with it. So on one side I have dark, and on one side I have light. And I'll just kind of add in a little like that. I'm going to double load this time again with purple on one side and magenta on the other, with a little hint of white. So our magenta is light on one side, and then we have dark purple on the other. Keeping light on one side. Alrighty, so now I'm going to finish the eye. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use my little small angle brush, and I want to, let's just wipe that little blood off. I'm going to take a little of my aqua now. I just want to highlight my eye. I'm going to keep it dark back here, but we're just using our aqua and our kind of teal green color. I want to get that brightest color on the outside of our eye. And darkest back here. And while we're highlighting, I just gave my brush a little rinse. I'm going to take a little bit of white, and I just want to give my little beak another touch to highlight. And I'll finish it with a little white, just like that. And same with my eye. A little white there. And I'll give a little white like that. So that gives us that kind of shine on the eye. I'm going to take a little bit of white and do just a little final dab out around the eye. This may blend in with some of your color that's there, and that's okay. Things will blend together. That's how it goes. And there is our colorful baby owl, our owlet. Thanks for watching, everybody.